They say success doesn't always mean riches, and Red Fox's story proves it. Although he made millions and became a household name, by the time he passed away at 68, Foxx was broke, with a net worth plunging to negative $3.5 million. But who stepped in when his life's curtain fell? The answer involves one of Hollywood's biggest stars, Eddie Murphy. Against all odds, Murphy refused to let Foxx's legacy fade and personally paid for his funeral and headstone. Why did Murphy take on this burden? And how did a comedy legend like Foxx end up penniless after decades of making us laugh? In this video, we uncover the hidden truths behind Foxx's final days, the legal battles over his estate, and how Eddie Murphy became his unexpected savior. Let's delve into it. How Eddie Murphy tried to save Red Foxx. When comedy crosses generations, it becomes more than just entertainment. It becomes culture, a lifestyle. This was the lasting impact of comedy legend Red Foxx, whose influence still echoes in the lives of comedians, both young and old. Throughout his vibrant and eventful life, Foxx lived with a fierce understanding that tomorrow isn't promised. He believed everyone faces death eventually, so you might as well enjoy the ride to the fullest. Despite what some might label a decadent lifestyle, Foxx deeply valued hard work. His creativity and dedication were key to his success, even as he experienced the luxuries of fame and wealth. But that lifestyle also brought trouble, especially with the IRS. In his later years, Foxx was a complicated man, shaped by and shaping those closest to him, people who received his love freely but often struggled alongside him, sometimes without enough in return. His life, marked by hardship and injustice, was buoyed by his relationship with Eddie Murphy. While many took from Foxx, few gave back as much. At his death, Foxx left behind a mountain of debt and a string of failed marriages, yet his legacy endures. According to People magazine, Foxx once earned $4 million in a single year, but lost it all due to a lavish lifestyle compounded by what he called very bad management, a recurring theme in his life. By the end, Foxx was more than broke. He was deeply in debt. Yet even amid financial troubles and personal setbacks, his generosity never faded. That good karma found its way back to him through Eddie Murphy, a longtime fan who understood Foxx's struggles. In 1988, Murphy cast Foxx in Harlem Nights. Originally offered $250,000, Foxx's fee was negotiated up to $560,000. When I wrote my film, Murphy recalled, I had Red in mind the whole time. His character Benny was written for him. I grew up admiring and laughing at Red, so it was tailor-made. Red is a brilliant comedian, even though most think of him as Sanford. Murphy's vision was grand, a multi-generational gathering of comedy greats. On set, the chemistry was electric. Foxx and Del, their longtime friend, brought decades of sharp wit and playful jabs. Their banter was like an old married couple's, keeping Murphy so entertained that he rushed to write a TV show treatment, casting them as husband and wife. Despite this chemistry and vision, Harlem Nights received mixed reviews. The LA Times noted, in this buddy-buddy movie with 3 generations of stand-up comics, Murphy, Pryor, and Red Foxx, 2 buddies often melt into the background. The comedians were friends, but Anthony Major sensed some tension brewing, mainly because Eddie Murphy wasn't open to feedback about the movie's production and direction. I think Del and Red got a little frustrated because Eddie wanted to do it his way and never really asked them how it was going, Major explained. We're talking about an era Red and Del lived through. The movie was good, but it could have been so much better if Eddie had just asked. They were willing to help. Unfortunately, most of Foxx's earnings from Harlem Nights went straight to the IRS. Despite that, Foxx kept spending extravagantly, buying expensive gifts for his staff, purchasing drugs, and refusing to back down from the IRS, who reportedly seized some of his assets illegally. Drowning deeper in debt, owing a staggering $3 million to the IRS, Foxx was on his last leg. He pleaded with Hollywood stars whose careers he had helped, like Bernie Mac and Leonda Page, asking for their support. But few answered. With nowhere else to turn, Foxx reached out to Eddie Murphy, knowing the younger star was in a position to help. "Eddie is in a position to totally get me out of this," Foxx said. After a period of silence, Murphy's team stepped in to assist, but the IRS demanded the full lump sum with no payment plan. That would have left Foxx indebted to Murphy. His accountant, Louis Pittman, advised against taking the deal. Instead, Pittman negotiated reduced payments and a manageable schedule. Around this time, Foxx began production on The Royal Family, a show born out of a conversation in Eddie Murphy's Harlem Nights trailer. Murphy originally wanted to call it Chest Pains, nodding to Foxx's habit of clutching his chest as if collapsing on Sanford and Son. But since Growing Pains was already airing on ABC, the name was quickly changed. Murphy sold the show to CBS with the condition that he be credited as creator and executive producer. Anthony Major recalled, "I just negotiated with Eddie's people, and we had to work it out so Red could work, because this was the time of the taxes, the IRS, and all that stuff." The heat from the IRS was starting to die down, with a portion of Foxx's paycheck being garnished. While the cast seemed to be getting along well, the show's creator was noticeably absent. Anthony Major recalled, "Once we signed the contract, we never saw Eddie again." Despite Murphy's absence from the set, his generosity did not go unnoticed. According to Black and Blue, the Red Fox story, Eddie Murphy gave Red Fox perhaps his last chance to recapture the magic of Sanford and Son. The Royal Family was a traditional sitcom centered on Fox and Reese as Al and Victoria Royal, a couple approaching retirement after a divorce. Their daughter Elizabeth, played by Mary J. Blige, along with her 3 children, Kim, Curtis, and Hillary, portrayed by Silver Gregor, Lauren Tate, and the late Nia Rivera, who was only 4 at the time, moved back in with them. The show was fresh and relevant, tackling the reality of a time when grown children were moving back home because their jobs didn't pay enough to support their own families. The premise was solid, and the cast shared great chemistry. However, Fox clashed with the white writers and producers who struggled to write authentically in a black voice, or understand the importance of representing black families with respect. For example, Fox refused to call one of Al's grandsons boy because of its racist connotations, and rejected kid for its animalistic implications, insisting his grandson be called by his proper name. Scripts were often returned claiming changes had been made, but no real revisions occurred, something that frustrated Fox deeply. Producer Reese, who was white, frequently told Fox how to be black, despite lacking the cultural understanding. Still, despite the on-set tensions, the show performed well. "It was a hit," Reese admitted. The Royal Family drew solid ratings and boosted CBS's Wednesday night viewership. There was even talk of picking it up for a full season, a rare feat so early in production. Tragically, it would be Fox's last performance. On October 11, 1991, after just 4 episodes were completed, he suffered a fatal heart attack, eerily similar to the one he had famously pretended to have on Sanford and Son. His co-star, Dolores Hall, and everyone else initially thought it was just another joke. She recalled, "He did what we thought was a pratfall because he did it all the time. We all stood there laughing while he was lying on the floor. He'd had a heart attack." After being resuscitated, Red Fox passed away within hours. At the time of his death, he was $3.6 million in debt. CBS faced the difficult decision of how to continue the Royal Family. After considering bringing in Sherman Hemsley or John Amos to fill Fox's role, the network chose instead to write the death of his character into the show. Shortly after the first episode without Fox aired, they introduced Jackie Harry as the estranged half-sister of Reese's character. When the show returned from hiatus, it was reworked so that Jackie Harry played Al and Victoria Royal's eldest daughter rather than Victoria's sister. Despite these changes, the show never quite regained its footing, and CBS eventually canceled it in May, leaving 2 episodes unaired. In a recent Vanity Fair article about his movie Dolomite, Eddie Murphy spoke about the heavy burden of saying goodbye to so many celebrities, including Foxx, though Murphy did not attend Foxx's funeral. "I buried Red Foxx. I literally had to bury Red Foxx. I've buried so many people over the years. For some strange reason, a lot of people in show business, when they die, they don't have their stuff in order." Murphy said he covered many of the funeral expenses, including the headstone. He spoke warmly of Foxx, remembering him fondly. "We were close, and I did love Red Foxx. It's unfortunate that during his time here, his generosity often went unmatched. Fortunately, he had a few people who remained grateful to him for the laughs, encouragement, and notoriety he gave out." While Murphy's relationship with Foxx could be complicated and at times exploitative, it was also filled with genuine love and concern, more about the desire to love, be loved, and help others than about money. Why did Red Foxx refuse to sell his soul to Hollywood, and how did he pay for it? Red Foxx was a legendary American comedian best known for his raunchy stand-up routines. His bold style, filled with foul language and adult themes, influenced generations of comics that followed. Starting out as a struggling performer in New York City, he adopted the stage name Red Foxx and built his reputation on the Chitlin circuit, African-American nightclubs popular in the 1940s and 50s. By the 1960s, his recorded comedy acts had become hugely popular within the black community, though his albums were considered too risque for white audiences and rarely stocked in predominantly white stores. In his later years, Foxx lived in Las Vegas, where he maintained a home for 21 years and made nightclub appearances when he felt like it. After his third marriage ended, he often stayed home trying to recuperate by sleeping through much of the day. Beyond Las Vegas, Foxx owned homes in Los Angeles and St. Louis, and even boasted a fleet of 3 Mercedes. Yet despite his success and wealth, he carried bitterness over his career. He felt exploited by unscrupulous associates and victimized by deep-seated racism within the entertainment industry. He once said, "I've been cheated more than most people because I'm gullible and I'm a target. My heart is open, and I listen to people and I believe their SOB stories." Foxx was outspoken about Hollywood's racism, comparing it to the stench of a skunk's armpit. This prejudice cost him financial rewards, opportunities, and recognition throughout his career. Offstage, he often seemed gloomy. Though wickedly funny and outrageous on stage, behind the scenes he was reportedly tired and dispirited. Courteous and even courtly, he appeared depressed, and when asked about the future, he'd shrug it off. "All you can gain is material things, and when you get to be 60, material things don't mean so much. You don't have that long left to enjoy them," he said. He'd sigh and add, "I'd just like some peace of mind." More than 19 years after his death, Clark County Public Administrator John J. Cahill announced in 2010 that the rights to Foxx's life story would be marketed through probate court. There had been offers ranging wildly from $20,000 to $2 million, but negotiations never progressed beyond meetings and talks. Foxx had been a Las Vegas showroom headliner for years and was buried at Palm Memorial Gardens in the city. Shortly before his death, the IRS foreclosed on his Eastern Avenue home, rumored to be haunted. Cahill said whoever acquired the rights to Foxx's rags to rags story would have plenty to work with. Though best remembered for playing Fred Sanford on the 1970 sitcom Sanford and Son, Foxx's career began decades earlier on the Chitlin circuit, a series of venues safe for black performers during the racially segregated South and East. Cahill explained that even if the rights to Foxx's life story sold for millions, it wouldn't significantly impact Clark County's finances. "If a movie producer pays $1 million to tell Red's story, the county will get about $2,150, he said. "We have always been confident that the estate owns the rights to Foxx's life story," Cahill added, "but there have been questions and some confusion in the past. When buyers come to the table, it's important that the rights are clear and available." His goal was to settle Foxx's estate, pay off all owed taxes, and secure funds for his heirs. Though Foxx had no biological children, he adopted Debria Foxx, daughter of Betty Jean Harris, Foxx's second wife out of 4. Debria once served as the estate's administrator. Foxx was also married to Kahoo during the last 3 months of his life. Debria and Kahoo are believed to be his sole heirs. Cahill noted that estate auctions in Nevada are typically quiet affairs announced in local newspapers. It's rare for someone as famous as Foxx to die without a will, and because Foxx was broke, services like Cahill's usually aren't necessary. However, the IRS lien remained on Foxx's estate until 2006, when a probate judge removed Debria Foxx as administrator for unspecified reasons. The estate was then placed under the public administrator's care, a responsibility Cahill took on after his 2007 election. "We were going through things, and this popped up," Cahill said. "I noticed not much was going on and asked my staff why it was still open." Shortly after, a potential buyer and an unidentified Hollywood actor made a $220,000 offer, followed by another $2 million bid from a fast-talking individual. Neither offer succeeded. Still, a seed was planted. "We had no idea how to sell movie rights," Cahill admitted, noting he was hiring professionals to handle the marketing. The deal was set to be auctioned in court, with all terms, conditions, and rights locked in. The final bid by a qualified buyer would determine the winner, but if a better offer came along, the court could overturn the decision in favor of a higher bidder. In other words, the rights to Red Fox's life story are being treated like real estate. "Write a lot about this," said John J. Cahill, the Clark County public administrator. "I want every producer in Hollywood to read about this." But how did Red Foxx, once the star of the beloved TV show Sanford and Son, end up dying broke? Part of the answer lies in Hollywood's treatment of him. Foxx was among the first black actors to be blackballed for his outspoken and controversial opinions. Through the laughs, many didn't realize Foxx was tackling a deeply sensitive subject, the N-word, just a decade after Martin Luther King Jr.'s death and the civil rights movement. Some called his approach bold. Others called it disrespectful. Regardless, his blunt, tell-it-like-it-is style allowed audiences to confront a taboo topic many wouldn't dare joke about openly. As he often said on his show, he ain't afraid to give you one across the lips. Born John Sanford in 1922 in the tough city of St. Louis, Missouri, Foxx grew up poor during a time of intense racial tension in America. The harsh realities he witnessed shaped his comedic voice. Starting out as a comedian at age 13, Foxx found his distinctive voice by 25, performing frank and unfiltered acts on the Chitlin circuit. "We were poor. If I wasn't a boy, I wouldn't have had anything to play with," he said. His raw, adult humor was too much for white audiences, but it earned him a spot on The Ed Sullivan Show, boosting his fame. In 1972, he landed his own TV series, Sanford and Son. Controversy continued when he used the N-word again on the show. The network refused to air that segment. In one episode, opening with a sharp joke, "Will you hurry up? You move slower than a fat woman in a cactus garden, barefooted, blindfolded," his son Lamont storms in, furious about getting a ticket. From there, the show openly dissected racial issues, connecting with audiences who could relate. Lamont states, "You can get a ticket if the light is green, you black, and the cop is white." Fred replies with biting humor, "You get a ticket from a white cop in a blue uniform in a black neighborhood, makes you so mad you see red and you ain't going to fight it 'cause you too yellow. Now what are you, a man or a box of crayons?" Most of the jokes in this episode centered around colors and the irony in their use. While these jokes made it to the aired version, the network cut out the part where Foxx uttered the N-word, unwilling to face the controversy that would follow. Like the archetypal court jester, Foxx couldn't lie about topics he felt mattered. If the court jester tried to hide the truth, he'd choke or quit. For Foxx, it was best to say exactly what came to mind, no matter how blunt. This double-edged nature of the court jester often sparked criticism and dismissal from others. Actor Peter Ustinov once said, "Comedy is a funny way of being serious," and Foxx's bold approach certainly generated both criticism and controversy. He often clashed with network executives over how his character should be portrayed, especially when it came to racially charged issues. This candid style was all Red Foxx knew. He found a softer way to tell harsh truths, a method that helped Sanford and Son earn a spot on Time magazine's list of the 100 best TV shows of all time. After 5 successful years on air, Sanford and Son ended. By then, Foxx was more than famous for his humor and bluntness. His TV career began late, but before 1972's debut of Sanford and Son, he was known as the Dean of Blue Comedy, paving the way for younger black comedians like Richard Pryor, who tackled race and taboo topics. His act wasn't for the faint of heart. He once said, "No one expected me on television because my party records were X-rated, but that's the humor I liked. That's the humor I heard in the ghettos. They didn't want fairy tales, they wanted real talk." Though the show was a hit, Foxx's clashes with producers over creative direction led to his departure in 1977. He later starred in short-lived shows like The Red Fox Comedy Hour and The Red Fox Show, and appeared in films including Harlem Nights with Eddie Murphy. Sanford and Son also showcased other talented black actors often overlooked by Hollywood, like Leanne Page, Don Bexley, Lynn Hamilton, and guest stars like Slappy White and Pat Morita. While the show often used racial humor, it rarely tackled deeper issues like racism or politics, unlike contemporaries such as All in the Family and Maude. Norman Lear said they didn't try to compare the shows but rather portrayed what life was like in their own neighborhoods. Sanford and Son inspired other sitcoms about working-class black families, including Good Times and What's Happening. Back then, The Jeffersons was unique in featuring an affluent black couple, but most shows were made by predominantly white creators, catering mostly to white executives. Today, 21st-century black comedies like Blackish, Insecure, and Atlanta offer more nuanced and varied views of black life. NPR's Eric Deggans notes that while older sitcoms were beloved by black audiences and proved success was possible, they often relied on racial stereotypes and prioritized laughs over authentic depictions, sometimes glossing over the real challenges faced by black communities. What do you think? How has Red Foxx influenced comedy today? And do you see his impact in the comedians you watch? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more stories about comedy legends and their untold stories.